live the life beyond the boundaries we set on ourselves, to live and to run boundless, to be inspired, to achieve, to overcome the mountaintop in our life. Embrace the journey, become boundless.
Hello, Live Run Boundless family, and another beautiful Saturday morning out on the trails. Getting my sweat in. Everybody that know me the past few years run with me know that I sweat like my daddy. So with that said, I lose a lot of salt, and which is not good for me, because I thought I'd be hurting big time, cramping up, hit the wall, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. One day I recommend I've been taking for a couple of years is salt stick. That's what I take on my run. Now I don't take the whole bottle, but I put a little Ziploc bag, And so salt stick, they're wonderful for me. Will replace electrolyte, prevent me from cramping up. Yeah, if you want to try salt stick, haven't tried and want to try it again, go to saltstick.com, use discount code Boundless21 and get 21% off your salt stick tablet. Hello, family. Welcome to another episode of the Live From Boundless Show. I'm your host, Kenneth Pinckney, and my guest co-host today, back again, once again today. I could say she's a regular. She on Live From Boundless. And so she's really not a guest, She's, yes. Well, let's welcome Miss Izzy B, Miss Isabella, the professor, the ultra runner, the coach, and recently she was a pacer at Badwater 135. And so fresh off of that. And you can say she kind of like the boss lady herself. So welcome, Izzy.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good things come to those who sweat. This episode is brought to you by Salt Stick, leaders in running hydration. Salt Stick products are amazing because they have the ideal balance of electrolytes, which actually mirrors electrolyte ratio found in sweat. The Salt Stick formula is specifically designed to stop and prevent cramps, boost stamina, reduce heat stress, and maintain electrolyte levels. If you're a heavy sweater or prone to cramping, try Salt Stick. Use the code Boundless21 for 21% off. That's Boundless21 for 21% off.
So today guests are considered boss lady in the ultra trail running world. There are two women who are known for running ultra trail races and two directed ultra trail races. And so they're not astronaut race directors, might say. They are true legends in the trail running community. Running is what they love. Running is what they do. They have a passion for running and being out on the trails. And you could say they're living life on their own terms. They're their own boss, or they are free. So family, let's welcome Krissy Mayer, the ultra runner, the coach, the race director, the author, and a van lifer. We want to talk more about the van lifer. And this Carrie Henniger, the CEO, the boss lady, race director, and coach. So ladies, how are y'all doing today?
Awesome.
Doing good. Thanks for having us on together so we could catch up a little bit too.
Yeah. So awesome.
So I'll go ahead and start with the first question, ladies. Thank you both for being here. Excited to hear about this. I am an entrepreneur myself, so it's nice to see and get to know other boss babes. So to both of you, I don't know who wants to go first, but was running always a part of your life? We'll just start with that one.
Okay, I'll go. Yeah, for the most part it was. I started running in junior high and then ran in high school, and really picked up long distance running after I had my son and got a baby jogger. And so this was like in my early 20s, and I'm 44 now, so a long time ago. And just running with him in the baby jogger, and I would run for hours and he would just sleep in it. So that's kind of where I really found the love of like running longer. So yeah.
So cool. Similar, started grade school, high school, walked on to the University of Washington, and I guess just haven't looked back. It's always been a part of my life, as long as I can remember.
So what was your distance or that you did in college?
I was an 800 meter runner, and you'd be surprised. There are a lot of ultra runners that ran the 800. They weren't miler or, 10,000. Like there's a lot of 800 meter runners. I think there's like a mentally tough aspect to it that kind of transfers over.
Okay. And then after college, you got more into distance?
Actually, my senior year of college, right before spring break, I ran my first ultra at the Chuckanut 50K.
Oh, cool. And Keira, how did you get introduced to the ultra world?
Training for my first marathon in 2003 or 4. I was running on trails near my house here, and I met a gal named Michelle Barton who
I know that name.
We both just would always run the same trail, and she talked me into doing this race near our house called the San Juan Trail 50K, and it was put on by her dad's friend Baz. And so she just talked me into doing it, and I'd never ran like anything farther than, a marathon. So I did my first marathon, and then not too long after that, did that 50K and survived, and I was hooked.
How does she run with her hair down? I've been following her for years. I'm like, how does she do it? She's awesome.
So beautiful. She is. She's such a bright light. So yeah. Literally, she was just, over months and months, I would see her all the time on this trail right near her house. And she finally stopped me, and she's like, you have to do a 50K. You have to do this 50K. Like, okay. Yeah. So.
And you liked it. You kept going after that, right?
Yeah, totally.
I love that you brought up Boz's name. That's a legend name that wow, that's such a good, like, nostalgic name for me. Yeah. Oh, man. I think I only met him once, but I knew all about him.
Crazy Baz, like so yeah. And we live right at the base of the Saddleback Mountains, where he put on a lot of his races, like back in the day, all those trail races and the Holy Gym race. And so so he's kind of like this legend in the area where I live, which is cool, especially when I was first starting out, like in 2005. Baz was like this crazy guy.
Oh, that is cool. So getting back, so for you, Keira, so you had your baby, and that how you started extra trail running, right? It's a way to like to put your baby to sleep, something like that,
Yeah, it definitely was, especially with the jogger. So because prior to that, I would, run like 5 or 6 miles, but then I started running like 10, 12, 15 miles. He would sleep.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and for you, Krissy, so your first extra trail race with Chuckanut 50K, that's the race you directed. You're the race director of that race also, correct?
Now, I wasn't when I first ran it.
Okay then.
Yeah, I'd actually studied in Ecuador my junior year of college, and while I was there, I wasn't under the guises of a coach anymore. And most of the as an 800 meter runner, you never ran longer than 90 minutes. Like you always had like this definitive time cutoff. And I started taking off into the mountains of Quito, and I'd just be gone, no water, nothing, just sports bra shorts. I'd say I didn't know any different. And then when I got home and met Scott Jurek and Scott Kubry and all these people at the Seattle Running Company, they talked me into it that fall. So I wasn't running on the team my senior year, and I started training with them. And Scott McCubry ran almost every step of my first 50K with me. I think I dropped him on Chin Scraper. He's like, keep going.
How did you meet Scott Jurek?
He was working at the Seattle Running Company. So when I came home, there's like weird thing. I worked for the store called the Foot Zone, and when I came home, it had been purchased by Scott McCubry. And then he'd recruited Scott Jurek to come work in the store. And Scott Jurek had just won his first Western States. That's how far long ago it was.
Wow.
And when I, college senior, walked back into the store, can I have my job back? I met Scott Jurek, and it took 6 months for them to get me on the trails. I was still pretty I wanted my sleep in on Sunday mornings, but
in college,
it was college. But they got me out, and it's like, talk about those like moments in life where you look at where your life went one way or the other. And that was definitely a fork in the road for me.
I love the connection, how just one thing led to another, and here we are.
Yeah, totally.
So ladies, take us through the process from running races to being race directors?
Mm.
You know? How did that come about?
For me, it started because of the Chuckanut, and I was 22 when I ran it the first time. So in 2002, Doug McKeever and Richard West, the founders of the race, had decided they were done. That had been 10 years for them. And then by so that's in March, I don't know, sometime that summer, nobody had taken it over. And I just had this I fell in love with it. And I couldn't see that race go away. And so by that fall, I went and basically interviewed them. Like, how do I do it? Like, who do I get permits through? Who do I do insurance? Like, tell me everything I need to know. And they did. It was all like on a little notepad that I brought to like coffee downtown Bellingham. And then, so at 24 years old, I took over this race. We had like friends writing down times as people cross the finish line, and my mom made all the finish line food. Like, total, it's so different now. I remember I hand delivered race entry forms to like 5 running stores between Seattle and Bellingham. And then there was a place, I don't know if we had a website, but there was a way, I can't remember how I did it, but I would mail people. If they wrote me a note, I must have called, I don't know, maybe an email, and I would put it in an envelope and mail them a registration form. And then I would type all of those registrations into an Excel document. The sport has changed. Talk about how the sport has changed. Ultra sign up, all this race, none of that existed when I took over. I don't even think chip timing was a thing. God, I sound old.
Reach out for the ground level, you know. So that's I love it.
And I just do the one event, so there's something to be said for people that manage more than one event every year.
Yes, like Carrie.
So my story is similar to Krissy's, but I have a really cool story about Krissy. So the first race that I took over was the Leona Divide, and the race directors, just like what happened with Krissy, they just didn't want to do it anymore, and they were just going to retire the race. And in 2008, I had been volunteering for the race like the few years prior. So 2006, 2007, 2008, I took over as the volunteer coordinator, and that year Krissy was running, and I think I'm pretty sure that was 2008. You won that year.
I'd done it twice, if I remember right.
And and you were at one of the aid stations. I'd gone there to bring ice, and you were going to cross the road. It was the old course. And you were in the lead, and there were cars coming in. They had to hold you back, and you were like with your hands, and you were stressing out, and you were like, I gotta go, I gotta get the course record. And you were like, and it was and I was like, wow, I was just so enamored by that. I was like, and you ended up winning, totally crushing it. But so the next year, I totally took it over, and that was how I got into race directing. And I just loved it. And from there, I built all my other races.
What two great souls to learn from. I feel like I got to learn from wonderful, wonderful souls. And
Glenda,
so lovely, both of them.
Yes. And she was incredibly helpful. She was so excited that I was just going to continue this race. And she showed me how to get permits, and I didn't know how to do anything. So this was 2009. And it was the same thing. It was all mail-in registration, and I had to take applications to the running store in Santa Clarita. And it was so different. There was no ultra sign up, nothing. And
now there's 5 or 6 different platforms to choose from now.
And so I mean, y'all came a long way. Y'all continue to stick with it, you know, and just look at y'all right now, you know.
But wait a second, how many events are you doing now, Keira?
I have, now that I have Lake Sonoma, I now have 10, and that includes the Santa Monica Mountains 100, which we didn't get to do this year, but we do have a date for next year. So I think I have 10 now.
Wow.
Yeah, I see 10 on your website.
That's amazing.
I know.
That keeps you busy.
I haven't been that busy, you know, the last year and a half, but prior to that, my life was insane. It was,
So you got to just sit back for a little while and just reflect, see what you can do better, see what, no, okay, that's cool. So during the years being race directors, what's some of the challenges you had to go through during that time?
Krissy, go
Besides COVID.
Yeah, besides COVID, yeah.
Oh, that was definitely the biggest heartbreak.
Yeah.
I just wonder what rolls through your mind, Keira, when you think of challenges with race directing, because there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that, like, ideally, like, you get the, like, people come up and they say, oh, that was awesome, blah, 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 and you have like no idea.
I know. Yeah.
So that I actually have a little folder on my desktop. If there's another book I could get myself to write at some point, I would love to interview RDs for those stories.
Okay.
Like what happened? Like I blew up my dad's truck one year. My parents' basement flooded one year. I mean, there's just stories that we like, okay, we'll just deal with that later or whatever. I mean, the funniest one is like a friend of mine was helping me a couple years in a row. Yeah. And I broke down in tears and he goes, yep, 1:30. That's about right on cue. Yeah. And it was like, I hadn't eaten all day. Something went wrong. And it had been happening like the multiple years that he'd been helping me in a row. Yeah. And it was so perfect because it just like wiped the whole thing. I was like, get her a cup of soup. The girl's like fatigued, exhausted. Because it's not just race day. It's like all leading up. But man, I could go on about stories. Those like little snippets are what pop into my mind when I think about the challenges. Stuff you don't want people to know, but it's happening.
Right? Yeah. And I always find like Krissy, when people like start to help a lot and they kind of become like a key person of your team, they're like, wow, I never knew. And they're always ultra runners, but they're shock of like, I never knew what went into this. How crazy. And we have a saying, so my husband and I have been together since 2010. And he has a totally other career. He's a superintendent for a big construction company, but he helps me a lot. He's my big backbone. But his favorite thing to say is it's not if, it's when something's going to go wrong. He's like, oh, here we go. And so like I've learned to roll with the punches with that. Okay. There's just the craziest things can happen. Like crazy. Yeah. And you're just always, you're bobbing and weaving. I feel like ultras are, you're basically putting on a wedding for 500 spoiled, like they're all spoiled brides. And I'm saying this publicly. They're all like their wedding day and they're all spoiled brides and you're just like, and they forget that there's anything else, but it's their big 100K race or 50-mile race. Train hard and their whole family has, it's all the things, and here it's their day, and so you have to cater to them and
absolutely
responsible for their life. And
first and foremost,
and so it's just wild.
That's like the best learning lesson, Keira. I feel like my job now as a race director is to have everything so dialed so that I'm not having anything to do come race day, so that I can respond to said emails. Or no, just the when, like it's not if, it's when. So if you have, like, you can't leave sorting aid station stuff till the night before or like that's done a week in advance. Like as much as that stuff that can be off the table. So like I had a permit come in at 4 p.m. on Friday. Before my race one time. And I forget what I was doing. And I had to get a check delivered. And it was like a half-hour drive one way, had to be there by 5. And I was like, now, like I've been calling you for the last 3 months. Why is this now and I have to drive this check? I would have given you my credit card. Anyways, it was hilarious. And with that, somebody knocked on my door. And it was the trail butter guy, Jeff Bogus. And I was like, never mind, I got it. I handed him a check. I was like, here's the address. You got to go. You just like have these like, how do you deal with it? Like, how do you keep this thing going? And sometimes it literally seems like the universe does come through. Like, you can do this. You just got to make it happen.
And I love what you said, Krissy. Like, definitely it's a fine-tuned machine. I know for me now, there's no way I'd be able to be at the level that I'm at without severe dedication, preparation, and organization. Those are like my 3 words. And I actually have them printed out and have them on my like wall, because for me, it's just that. And I kind of live my whole life by that. But I just find that if you don't have those things fine-tuned, and I'll cross the T's and dot the I's like weeks before.
Yeah.
And it just, and it's exactly what Krissy said. But I had to learn that. Everything was such a mess for me the first few years.
Totally.
But yeah. And having a good team of people too. That takes a few years to build too. So
I remember going to the Tiger Claw the first year that Ethan and Kim Newberry put the event on. I was like spectating, I volunteered, marked the course, cleaned, whatever. And their eyes were so big. And I was like, I promise, just get through this year. Everything's new. Like by next year, you'll have these and then COVID hit, poor guys. Like that was 2019. So then they had to reinvent the wheel with virtual and everything. But I just remember that like wide-eyed first time race director mode. And here I'm like, 18 years into it at that point. I'm like, you got this. It's just like, keep going. It will get easier.
You gotta love the process. You gotta love the dream. Gotta love what you're doing.
That's so true.
So definitely when things get hard, things get challenging, you gotta say why are you doing it? You're doing it for the love, and shows the process. Trust it.
And it's really good to check in on that, right? Because I know there's been a couple years we finished up and I'm like, I don't know.
Why am
I doing this again next year? So
Yeah.
for Keira, do you times 10? Like you're like, that question has to be answered real fast. Like I have a whole nother year to think about it, or at least like 6 months. But you've got a whole you got days, weeks. But the other ones I'm sure are already in mode and planning and stuff. But
and I always have a break between April and November, so I don't put on races after Leona, and then until I have some short distance races in the early fall. So that's like my break. But every summer I'm like, oh my gosh, can I do this again? Can I do this? Just so, but I love it. I love it.
There you go.
If you keep coming back to that, awesome. Like keep going, race directors.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
But just the crazy stuff that happens sometimes, like you said, Krissy crying, and I've had moments where my garage is like ground zero before a couple days before, and I've like laid down on the concrete floor and just cried. I'm like, I can't do this, and my assistant's like, you need to get up. Like,
just let me have my little meltdown. Give me a cup of soup, I'll be all right.
So soup is the key. Okay, that's good to know.
That's just what we've served at our, not anymore. We have food trucks now. Total evolution. But before, that was an awesome upgrade. Take food prep off the deal as a race director. That was like game changer. We started that 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. Won't go back. As long as I can, I won't go back. Those are the best. And then there's options.
There you go.
Totally. All right, this next question, this is a good one. Do you guys believe that you are role models or trailblazers for younger ladies, females, to follow in your footsteps to be a race director? Have you ever thought about that before?
No, I haven't. I hope so. But I guess I've never, to be honest, thought about that. Yeah,
definitely not in the race director realm. I think I've accepted it in the running realm. Like, because when we got into it, early 2000s, there wasn't many ponytails on the trail, right? So there, and I didn't really have women to look up to talk, like, is this okay for my body? Like, my mom was a nurse, and the doctor she worked for was like, she's not developed at like 21, 22. She needs more development time, blah, blah, blah. Like all these, like, is it like, that wasn't, I mean, it's 20 years ago, but like, it doesn't that long ago that we were still questioning women's health like that. So I do feel like there's like a element of maybe pioneer or something, but I hadn't thought about it in the race director realm before. A lot of people don't know who the race director is.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go to an event, you do this whole thing, like you said, it's like the biggest day you've planned, you've trained, you've done all this stuff for it, but you don't know who made this thing happen a lot of times.
Well, I know with me personally, I've looked at race directors a lot more since I started my company. I do social media marketing for race directors and running companies. Cool. Yeah, so they'll hire me to promote their races, do all their social media stuff. But then that's where I kind of, me personally, like started looking at it. I'm like, whoa, race directors, it's mostly male dominated. And then, Candace Burt with her 200s, And then I started looking at other races. I'm like, Jubilees, with Aravapa and just like Keira, I've seen your races all over the place, being in San Diego. So it's just really cool me looking. And I'm actually, I can't give details yet, but I am going to be putting on my own race next year if everything goes well. My first one. It won't be an ultra because, well, long story, but ultras are a pain in the ass. But I have it for my demographic here in San Diego and what I'm involved in and passionate in. It's going to be great.
Yes, yes, it will.
So,
Awesome.
Congrats. That's
you never
awesome.
know who you're inspiring,
Definitely. I bet you're not
who's
one
watching.
supporter.
You never know who's watching you.
Yes.
Yeah. Some good women, Tia Boddington and Sam Pruitt and Keira and I, we had like a women's race directing group, and Amy from the Vermont 100, we would get on and talk just like, what are you doing? How can I better my event? And that was super awesome. And I know Gina Lucrezi of Trail Sisters is starting a race this fall. It's a half marathon trail race. I just got to see some of the course when I was through Buena Vista, and I'm sure there's more. Those are a few that came to mind in terms of women race directors. And like Tia, she's in there as long as as us, I think, with Miwok.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I love it. So who has been your greatest support in this journey for both of you as race directors?
I would have to say my husband.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. He has just always encouraged me, like from the very beginning when I wanted to create all these races that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Because besides Leona, everything else I created from the ground up. And he was just always so supportive and so like my rock. So my husband, yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And timing, right? Because you took over Leona in 2008 and you guys married in 10. You've been together since 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome.
At the perfect time.
I would say that's a pretty good test to marriage. They say like travel and stuff is, but race directing, that would definitely be a good test.
Yes.
Right? I agree. He also gets to run in all my races.
Okay.
He definitely, and he loves to just grab a bib on race morning. So luckily, I think it would be really hard if he didn't share the same passion as me.
Oh, yes.
Because it's not just like something that I kind of like to do, when I'm not even ultra running or trail running, or I love to hike for hours. And so he's passionate about all that too. So anyway.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yes, he's awesome.
Yeah.
He has my headlamp, by the way.
Does he from Hard Rock or?
No, Western States.
Oh, okay. I'll make sure to.
I just need to come get it. I need to come down and visit and come get it.
Yes.
There you go.
My mom, Male, and Doug McKeever. So I just have the one race. But man, there's like, especially the first like 10 years, there's no way that I could have, like, it was their house was race headquarters. I actually lived out of city and then out of state for most of the first 15 years of race directing. I was either Seattle or Bend, Oregon or Colorado. So Ma Male, Pa Male, their house took the brunt of race directing, which that says a lot. And then they actually cut me off one year. We had a big incident at the house and I was like, totally understand. It's time. This event has gone beyond homegrown. We need a warehouse. We need U-Haul trucks. I mean, they didn't cut me off. I was like, equal decision. But still every year obviously not virtually, but my mom and Doug have been at the race. Doug marks the course every year. Like he's 73 years old now and still goes out and marks the course. Nice. And he has said, as long as I'm race director, he will be there. And it's just such a sweet, like that you have those mainstays. And there was one guy, Steve Loitz, that swept the course for me for 15 years. And then he had some health stuff come up, but like to have those like long-term, now I have a young team, Kevin Douglas and Tyler Pooley. We've been together for 5 years now, 2 of them virtual. And like you said, Keira, once you have that team, things get so like, there's lots of stuff that happens on race day that I don't know anymore. I don't have to have my hands on everything. I can trust that the volunteers are taken care of, or that I do a lot of like the sponsor coordination and reservations and that kind of stuff. But it's so fun having that dynamic team.
Yes.
So no more crying at 1:30.
Yeah, because now people feed me. Actually, that's kind of what Ma has taken on as her job, is like making sure I eat around noon so that I don't have the afternoon meltdown. It's like an ongoing joke. It's ridiculous. I know how to feed myself, but like, I think it will forever be because of that
Yeah,
one year.
Okay, yeah, I love it. Tell us the connection. We talked about a little bit before the interview about the connection between both of y'all, you know, and how y'all know one another, and then things like that.
We've had lots of overlap. Yeah.
Yeah. I know for me, when I first came into the sport, Krissy was the like top female ultra runner in the sport.
Okay.
So just coming into the sport, and it was very small then and very close, very personal.
Yeah.
So she was, I mean, she's like the OG. I mean, it's
called that multiple times this year.
Krissy, I'm older than you if it makes you feel better.
But, I didn't even know.
So that's how I knew her. But then eventually, like we ran on the Patagonia. Well, Krissy ran, we ran on the Patagonia ultra running team together. And
that was one I was thinking of. Yeah.
I've
come down and run your races. I've done Sean O'Brien.
Okay.
I guess I haven't done Leona since you've been RD.
Yeah. Have you ever done Ray Miller? That one's so pretty.
I love that route, but I haven't done your race. Yeah, put it on your.
I've been looking at that one
wish
for
list.
a long time.
It's my favorite of all my races I put on.
Okay.
I swear. Yeah, it's great.
I might have convinced Kenny to do that one.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Oh, you guys, please do it. It's December 4th.
December 4th?
I showed him the date already.
Okay, perfect.
50 miler for him, his first 50.
Oh,
There
man.
you go.
Oh, the pressure.
The pressure. At least
It's recorded on a podcast.
I was going to say, it's announced publicly. Yeah.
Right. And I'm offering you an entry, so now you have to.
Oh,
Kenny. KP.
Yeah, you have all this time to train.
He's got a 50K in September, a local one.
Yeah, I got two
Perfect.
local 50Ks. One, the two locals, the Nova Canyon and the Lake Hodges.
Oh, Noble Canyon.
Perfect timing. And then December, we got our 50 miler. Kenny P. We're doing this.
Okay.
Like it.
Press that sign up button.
Yay.
Oh man, there we go.
And that's how it happens, guys. That's how we sign up for races.
The peer pressure, the pressure is on me now. The pressure is on me. You know, so it's all good. I love it. I love it. Thank you. I like to talk about running in life. You know, I like to not compare but contrast running in life. So what have running taught both of y'all about in relation to life?
Patience.
Patience. Okay.
I am not a patient person by nature.
Yeah.
I have to, it's like, I think that's why I'm still in the sport. I still got to learn that lesson.
Yeah,
it keeps
yeah.
running. I'm a patient runner. Like, I think it shows in how I go out and take my time and make my way back up through the field. Like that's definitely noted, but yeah, transferring that to life, that's where it's a good contrast, because I don't know that it always shows up in the rest of life.
Okay.
I love that. See, I think the reason why I love trail running and ultra running so much is when you're out there, it puts you in the moment.
Yes.
And I mean, like, nothing really matters. It's all about just one foot in front of the other, getting to the next place. And so I love that that's such a good lesson in life. I love that, to just focus on today, the now.
Yes.
You know, what's behind you is, the rear view mirror. What's in front of you is the windshield. And like, I kind of try to live my life by that. Yeah. So that's what I love about ultra and trail running. I feel like I've learned the most. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw the question at you, Izzy. I'm gonna get the question you also.
Oh, for what has running taught me in relation to life?
Yeah. Surprise.
Wow, I'm put on the spot now. Gosh, their answers were so good. How to challenge myself. Like I always tell people, you never know what you're capable of until you try. So, you start with 50K, like, can I do 50 miler? I don't know. What happens if I don't? Who cares? At least I know, right? Like, what's the worst that can happen? That's what I say too, and then finally I signed up for my first 100 miler, and I'm like, we'll see how it goes,
Which one are you registered for?
Coldwater Rumble in January. Yeah.
I don't know that one. Is
That's
that
an Aravaipa one.
Oh, okay. Those guys have a bunch of events.
Yeah. And I love their races. I did my first 100K this year. They're Black Canyon. And I had a blast. I had a very strong, amazing race.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm not like an elite runner, but for me, it was an amazing race. Everything went right. I was able to problem solve, and I was happy with my time. And I'm like, let's keep going.
There you go.
So
Nice.
There you
that's
go.
just
Good
kinda
luck. Yeah, so a
challenging.
December 50 miler could be early December, could be a good last
Dream
long run for
exactly.
your 100.
My coach is already okay with it.
Mhm.
See, her coach is Jeff Browning.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Bronco. I was at Western States.
Yeah.
He and I
Giddy
go
up.
back. Yes. He's like big
That's
brother.
awesome.
We have a big brother, little sister relationship.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
That's
I'm training
awesome.
with the best guys.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
cool. I'm gonna have to give me a coach now.
There you go. Get ready for that 50.
I don't know. It's all good. It's all good. We're looking forward to it, I think.
So next question is for Krissy, and I'm super interested in this because
yes,
my husband and I have talked about this for the last year and a half. We don't have children. We just have 2 dogs, and we have thought about doing the van life. So please let us know how that came about for you.
I actually bought the van. I've been living out of my car every summer since 2006 for at least 3 weeks. I've had a Honda Element since, well, I had a Subaru and then a Honda Element and then another Honda Element. And then I got a dog and I was like, okay, we got to upgrade. So that's when 2019, we did a trip. I took PD on a trip in 2018. And so 2017, I think. But it took about 2 years for me to find a van. I just kind of kept looking on Craigslist. I'd go around and look at them and I just didn't have the right vibe. And then the one I got, it's a long story and it's in itself and a super special one. And the reason that I was able to get it, and it's named after my grandmother, because she put money away when she passed when I was 18. And that was like half of what it cost me to get it. So the van has like a namesake and cool story on how I got it. And I bought it just as like an upgrade to my normal summer life. And then 2020 happened and I needed to, for multiple reasons, get out of the condo that I owned, living situation. And like trying to buy another house and stuff, and the market was over, and we didn't know at that point. This was May of 2020. Who knew what the market was going to do? But it was just like I was trying to buy, and like I get outbid, or the fact that I needed a contingency, like mine needed to sell in order to buy. I was like, okay, I just need to get cash so that I can have a down payment. So I sold my condo, and I was like, well, I can live in the van. Like I would probably be in it most of the summer. Anyway, that was a year ago. August 1st, I moved into the van full time, thinking it was just to like bridge the gap until I could find another spot in the market. As a lot of us know, I just did a month-long actual road trip. I've been living in Bellingham most of this time because of COVID. I couldn't go anywhere. I was just living in my vehicle. So I actually, PD and I went on a month-long trip, and everywhere I went, it was the same sentiment about the market. Like it's not just, it's not just these like little towns, it's everywhere. The housing market is just unreal. So thankfully I really enjoy it. And the fact that I hit a year, just there's so many cool aspects to simple living. And like I dork out on like the littlest things. Like my mom just helped me this weekend change the webbing that I used to strap in my refrigerator because I wanted it to be more colorful. Like you get to like the tiniest little things like add vibrancy to this little space, right? So I like that. I like how simple it is. I love, because when I visit people, I have my own bed. They're like, oh, come inside, stay in a bed. I'm like, I got it good. Like I love sleep as long as it's like less than 60 degrees. Like I like it to be cool. But but then I have everything. Like I met some friends the other day. We're gonna go do the Teton Crest Trail, and they're quizzing me on gear that we might need. And I was like, come here. And I just took them to the van. I'm like, here's poles, here's a backpack. Here, like I just showed them what they need to go get, because I always have my house with me, and I can just like, I don't know, if you need to, out with somebody and like, oh, I'm cold. Like I got my whole wardrobe. What do you want? A sweatshirt? Do you want a jacket? What do you want?
Oh, that's so good.
Those probably weren't the answers you were expecting out of van life, but those are my highlights.
How does Petey like it?
I love. She's getting used to it. I probably got like the poor dog needs like she's a mini Australian Shepherd, and I think she needs like that breed needs consistency, and she got the most inconsistent mama. Like we were moving around different driveways, like this whole month on the road, she's like, what the heck, Mom, where are we at? Where are we now, you know? But that's probably my favorite time is like being in people's driveways. You like get this insight to life, like, and I get to share in people's lives so much more by living this way than if you have your own home that you're always going to. I really like the openness to it. And like, I'm always surprised. I shouldn't say I'm always surprised. It's just lovely that people are so inviting. Like I ran it, we were talking about this before we recorded, but Keira and I was through San Clemente, which is where my grandmother most recently lived. And I went for a run in the hills, and I was just like bonding with my grandmother who's deceased. And Kira's like, why do you stay in my driveway? Like almost mad at me. Like, yeah, I'm right here. I'm like, oh, I got to think of these things. I love that though. Like you get invited all the time.
That's I love it.
So I highly encourage it for many reasons. And the puppers, I think it's just kind of creating some routine for them. What breeds do you have?
We have pit bulls. Two rescue pit bulls.
I don't know much about what they need or whatever, but the routine seems to help my dog.
Okay. We don't know if we'd actually live in it full time because I might murder my husband after a couple of weeks, but we've definitely been shopping for him, all the different kinds now, and doing all that stuff.
Good luck finding one. The supply and demand is
right now. Exactly. That's why I'm like, maybe we'll just get the van, throw a little air mattress in the back for a little bit until we figure out how we want it outfit it or whatever they say.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's super exciting.
It's definitely cool, and it can continually evolve. Like I bought it for my summer adventures, and now it's my home. So you never know. I do think I talked to like Max King and some other friends that were there in their vans, and we were like showing like, look at your, sharing stories and stuff. And I mean, he's got 2 kids, and they have to like, sleep everybody. So I do think there's like for full time, I think it works pretty well on your own because like I get to put things where I want them to be and they're not going to move. Like that might be tricky with a partner. It's just, I guess communication would have to go way up.
No, I'd kill him. Or you kill me. Okay, so question for both of you ladies. What's been the greatest joy for both of you regarding trail running?
The greatest joy, I think it would just be seeing some of the most beautiful places ever that most people don't get to see. I've just seen so much and spent so many wonderful hours alone, and it's just something that the normal everyday person doesn't get to do. So that to me is the biggest blessing in trail running.
That's good. My answer would be like where my 2 legs can take me. Like that just is constant awe. I would say currently, like that would be overall. Currently is my coaching. I sure do love the like relationships I get to build with these individuals. Like it's about running and a lot of life. And I think it's such a gift to like, I there's something to it. I think with like the same with like driveway hopping. I love like interacting and seeing how people like sharing and how we live this like human existence. Pretty cool.
Driveway hopping. I love it.
Oh man. That's wonderful.
All right. So our number one question, Kenneth, you want to ask him? This is your question for everyone.
Okay. Yeah. I'll take a try. Take a try at it. So, ladies, boundless. This is what I'm all about. Boundless. So, what's your boundless motivation? Your boundless thoughts, in a few words.
Boundless motivation.
I know for me, like, I never want to quit or I never want to put limits on myself because I always want to bring experiences to people's lives. And I think we can go through life and like, we might not remember, something we watched on TV last week or whatever, but we rarely forget like a really special race or an ultra or like being with friends and like being part of a crew and all of those things. And so for me, it's like doing it until I can't do it anymore. Like these events and races, that's kind of like, I feel like it's definitely my destiny and my calling. And I yeah. So I don't know
like
if
that.
I answered it,
I
but
love that answer.
Yeah, yes,
I do
yes,
too.
yes. Beautiful.
I am looking at your logo behind you, like for inspiration, like boundless. Like I think it goes in so many directions, right?
I know. Yes,
For
it does.
me, I feel like my gut response is like not feeling limited, like being like when I got into the sport, there weren't a lot of other women, so that didn't stop me from from going and doing.
Yes.
So I feel like, and I know listening to other people's stories about wanting to like see, like feel included and stuff like that. And I think that's an important value to recognize, that not everybody can just like hop in. Like if they don't, like if you're not represented. So the fact that I live kind of boundlessly that way, and like I'll get in there. Like I remember standing at a local business gathering, like small business owners were all together, and it was me and one other woman who was a hypnotherapist, and it was a room full of men, and they opened the stage to like announce what your business was. And I was like getting so frustrated that no women were speaking. And then I looked over and realized it was just her and I was like, that means I have to get up there and speak. So I feel like I don't know if that's boundless, but like I don't want to live within parameters of how it's supposed to be. Although I've often fallen, I'm a very rule oriented person, so I like fall into the rules. And then I'm like, no, I don't want to. So I have to like fight that a lot.
Absolutely, both great answers. So not setting limits on yourself. Definitely, and just embrace your calling, like Keira. So you have so definitely great example, of being balanced. Yes, and running in life, So that was all about,
Kenneth, what's yours? What started this whole thing?
Oh man, you can put me to spot.
Has anybody thrown it back at you yet?
Ooh, I like it.
Not in an interview. When I first got started, I would explain it probably in my bio, my website. I talk about balance, how I got started.
Okay.
But not during an interview. But I'm gonna try to make it short. Because if I get long, I could go long-winded sometime once I get started. Sometime I will make it short and simple. Sometime for my life, it's I have self-doubts. Sometimes I put limits on what I could do. But just able to make that breakthrough. You just realize what I could do mentally and physically. But you have to go through something in life. To make it short, it took me filling my Navy weighing a few years ago, and to realize what I could do. I could be sorry for myself and not do anything, or I could make that breakthrough I needed. And become a Navy, become to life. And just really just be able to do this. And now it's all to be doing this. So this is definitely just having a breakthrough moment, and I just really not set the limit, put limits on yourself, that it's possible, you just have to believe, and not doubt.
I don't mean to take over, but I'm really curious. Isabella, would you answer too?
Oh, jeez. What was my answer before? I can't remember.
No. What's your gut right now?
I guess I always go back to the challenging yourself. You never know what you're capable of until you try. When I was 19, I broke my back in a snowboarding accident, and I was almost paralyzed. So ever since that day, I've just been thankful for everything physically I could do. My life could have been so much different. And I don't like have to run. I don't have to train today. I don't have to do sprints. I don't have to do hill repeats. I get to. Like my body is allowing me to do that today. So I may not ever be an elite runner, and that's totally okay. I have my own goals, my own competition with myself. And I just enjoy being out there. And San Diego trail community is a huge trail family. We are like no other city. And we are just so tight and motivating and inspiring each other. When I first started my running group, Ultra Buds, almost 7 years ago, the only other running group was Surf. I don't know if you guys have heard of Surf San Diego Ultra Runners. There were no other running groups. Now there's like
what about
5
the
or 6.
Desert Rats?
I never heard of the Desert Rats back then.
Desert Rats.
Yeah.
Or Mike.
Oh, Kira's on mute.
I was going to say actually the San Diego Bad Rats, and I was actually part of that San Diego Bad Rats. Those original crew of us, Scotty Mills, Tommy Mills. So these are like OGs in San Diego.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What about the guy with all the tattoos?
He's
not
we had Ben Hines.
Ben. That's who I was thinking of. Ben Hines.
And Angela Chartel. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So Ange and Scott is who I would consider like the surf people.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
but I mean, I would have loved to run with them, but they're on the, sorry, my dogs, they're on the PCT every day. And so a lot of us were like, hey, we got stuff to do. We can't like drive an hour and a half and run and then drive an hour and a half, 2 hours back. And so that's when I started Ultra Buds. It's like more local, it's a 20-minute drive, 15-minute drive for me. So, yeah. And the surf people, they're like legends. And like for newcomers who are just trying to get into ultras, it's a little intimidating. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be stuck out on the PCT with all these legend ultra runners. Like I'm going to die out there. Whereas like my group runs like at Lake Hodges, you can turn around when you want. My mom's the walk leader. It's a little safer.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, the trail running community is definitely is tight. It's a privilege to me to be a part of the trail running community, and just to bring a little piece to the table. Just to bring and just I never thought like I listened to the interview by the crawfish champion Matt Frazier. He talked about where was that. Anybody asked him where was that going to be 10 years from now, and we think like 10 years ago, he never thought he would have been at where he at right now. Now thinking about that, 10 years ago, I know I would thought I'd be doing this. I know my dog be running like 10 miles, running trails, running up hills. I know doing interviews with people from all over just so, but I'm here. I'm grateful for the opportunity of doing what I'm doing right now. I to be part of the trail running family, to be able to run trails, and just meet some great people, we do running in life, so yeah. So thanks. Yes, I think to get a chance to meet both of y'all ladies,
Hopefully on the trail sometime.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Yeah. So definitely, hopefully so. Hopefully now we'll see y'all on the trails.
Yeah.
Maybe we should all meet at Ray Miller.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I'm so down.
There you go.
Although I will say, ending on or maybe wrapping up on the race director note, that is the hardest day as a race director to meet new faces or to make that, because there's so much going on that day and so many faces and it's been a week of not very much sleep and it's a really hard day. So that would be hard on Keira. That wouldn't be really fair.
I'll just send her a bunch of emails the day before.
Right.
Totally.
Can I change my shirt size?
Yeah. Those are the stories. You wait. You wait. You've got one you're gonna try and put together.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. Well, before we leave, if people want to get in contact with both of y'all, how would they do that?
I'm really easy to find because on Instagram it's just Keira Henniger, KeiraHenninger. And my websites are just khraces.com. And on Twitter I'm Keira Henniger, Facebook I'm Keira Henniger. So very, very easy to find.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly the same. If you can spell my last name, you can find me. It's a unique last name. So M-O or Krissy with a K, Krissy Moehl. Instagram. I'll be honest, I'm not the best Facebook or Twitter person.
Me either.
You have a website and I love Instagram. So
There you go.
I do respond on those things.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you, Krissy, Keira, for taking the time to join the Live Run Boundless family. It definitely was a privilege and an honor just to have you on here and just talk about being a race director, I might say, and just your process, your journey, But before we actually leave, you have any last word you want to leave the family? Your last word on your own?
I love that you call it a family, and what a cool thing for you guys to be a part of. And thanks for inviting me on is all I would add.
Yes.
And I will say the same. I was so honored when you reached out to me, and this was so kind of you and awesome. And I love that you did a little show about kind of women empowerment and just super, super cool. So thank you so much for having me. And I'm just honored to be here. Yeah.
Welcome. And thank you, Miss Izzy B,
Yeah.
for joining me once again, right,
Yep.
as a guest co-host. Any last word you want to leave the family?
What was that?
Any last word you want to leave the family?
Looks like we're running a 50 miler together.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold you to it.
Oh, okay. I need that accountability. Can me slip through my mind. Definitely. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you. Yes, so thank you, Live Run Boundless family, for joining me for another episode of the Live Run Boundless show. Living a life beyond the boundaries you set on yourself. And the two ladies, actually these three ladies, I gotta say all the three of them ladies, have living their life beyond the boundaries they set on themselves, and have breaking barriers and set an example for other people to follow. So thank you once again, and till next time.